Welcome back. We're glad you're watching the Weekend Express. Now, the International Week of the Deaf is an event celebrated throughout the world and promoted by the World Federation of the Deaf. The week may sound like another irrelevant holiday that some government body established, but for 70 million deaf people across the world, it is so much more than that. This is a celebration of the achievements of the deaf community and the rich world of deaf culture. It is also a reminder of the injustice that the community still suffers at the hands of societies across the world. It's more like an alarm that goes off each year to alert all of us that deaf people from all continents continue to be segregated by linguistic, cultural, economic and political distinctions. Well, this morning in studio we have members of the Muslim Deaf Association of Kenya, and to my left we begin with Somaya Hassan, who is the patron of MDAC, and we also have Simon Adem right next to her, as well as Abdi Abdile, who's there, Abdul Ali and Martin Gombe. Thank you so much for joining us in studio, gentlemen. And Abdi, I would like to begin with you. Talk to us about this week, the International Week for the Deaf. Why is it important?
My name is Abdi. My sign name is like this. Why? It's because my voice, I have voice, because for many years I've been having hearing aids. Also, I have to thank our patron, Sumaya, for Deaf Awareness Week, International Week. It's very, very important for celebration for all the deaf. Show people what's happening with the deaf community. And also Muslim Deaf Association of Kenya, many ways during Ramadan we served different schools to have deaf Muslim community in different schools. And the different masjid like Halinga Mosque, Jamia Masjid, and also teach them sign language. Many deaf are hidden at home because of communication, barren communication. Now the problem is that parents have to awake and have awareness about deaf community. In the village also, they have no idea. No idea how to go to school. Without communication barrier becomes very hard going to school. Parents, my child is deaf. Going to how can he or she go to school? Now, Deaf Awareness Week will show up, and people will know deaf also can grow and become anything and be learned also. We hope this deaf community will spread.
All right, thank you so much, Abdi. And let's speak to Somaya Hassan. This is the patron of the Muslim Deaf Association of Kenya. Somaya, this association was registered not very long ago. Talk to us about what it is you do and why you were formed in the first place.
Right, we launched MDAC in May of this year. And the main reason is really to institutionalize a means of empowering the deaf community within the country, and particularly the Muslim deaf community who really needed a voice. What we find, as Abdi was saying, there's still a lot of marginalization among the deaf community from other members of the society and even within their own families. And what we find is that the parents themselves many times need to be empowered. We still have parents who regard their deaf children as a curse.
Right.
They lock them up in the house. They don't go to school. So some of the children we've taken to schools really should have been in school maybe 8 years ago, and they're only starting to go to school now.
Right.
And so those parents as well need their capacity enhanced. So the main objective is to empower the deaf economically, to empower them socially, to empower them politically, and really enable them to participate as full members of the community.
Right.
It's really about embracing the diversity of who we are as a Kenyan people. Among us are 2.4 million deaf people, and among those, 800,000 of those are Muslims. So we're looking at 2.4 million people. That is a significant part of the population that for a long time has not been completely integrated into the wider community, and we want to play a role in helping to change that.
Right, right. So the theme for this year's International Week for the Deaf is "With Sign Language, I Am Equal." So let's hear from Martin Gombe. For example, Martin, how old were you when you learned sign language?
I learned sign language time when I started school, when I was born. Time I was born, when I grew up, myself, I was surprised because my parents didn't know I was deaf, first of all. I started copying sign language. I copied sign language from my friend.
So your parents did not know you were deaf?
Both of my parents are hearing. Time I was born, I was hearing. I became deaf. How many years? How old you became deaf? How many years? 5 years. I became deaf when I was 5 years old.
You became deaf at 5 years old. All right. And how long did it take you after that to learn sign language?
To learn sign language. How long? You learn sign language? In school. How many years? Years. 8 years.
At 8 years old. 8, and you had to copy it from your friends.
Yeah, copy from friends.
All right. And let's hear from Simon as well.
Now from I copy from my friends. They came and taught me sign language. When I was small, I didn't know sign language. I wasn't experienced. I learned and I learned. They were smaller. The other guys were smaller than me. So I keep on and then improved and I learned sign language.
Right, so you learned sign language from people much younger than you, and that's very interesting. And then Simon as well. Simon, thank you for joining us today. How old were you when you learned sign language?
How old are you when you learn sign language?
My child is slow, perhaps my child is just shy or reserved. Parents themselves, in a number of cases, don't know the signs that make them realize that this child actually is deaf. And that is a challenge. And one of the things that I would want to appeal for within the schools, not only for deaf schools, but just our ordinary schools where my children and your children go, our children are learning all these foreign languages. Why should we not introduce, why can we not introduce deaf language pretty much in all schools? Because you can choose, French, Spanish, Chinese as a second language out of choice because you want to interact with that culture, with that language. But sign language is not a choice. For those who are deaf, really there is no other means for them to communicate. It's either sign language or writing. It's very simple to learn sign language. I have now started learning sign language myself, and I really want to encourage schools to have that as one of the basic courses that are taught, because then we will stop needing to build separate institutions for the deaf. They can be very easily integrated into our normal schools without having us stretching the resources further, just by teaching the children and the teachers sign language. It's actually very doable. Yes.
Right. And Abdul, as a sign language interpreter, I would like to speak to you because when we spoke to Martin, he said his parents didn't know he was deaf, and at a very young age of 8, he started learning sign language from his friends. So what are some of the challenges you've noticed among the deaf community when it comes to sign language?
It's true that deaf community, society, the challenge they have that is parents don't care about them learning sign language. So the biggest sign language, don't care about learning sign language.
I would understand that the concern among most parents is, first of all, like you're saying, there's not many choices for where one can learn sign language. And then the issue of this is a young baby, a child of, say, 1 to 5 years old. How can they learn sign language and learn to communicate with their parents? Abdul.
How can a deaf child, when 5 years old, learn sign language? Is it hard for them to learn sign language? Young child, 5 years old, it's very easy to learn for them to learn sign language, because deaf child enjoy. Sometimes the problem with the parents refuse to learn sign language. Voice, there'll be no voice for him. One deaf child, When that child is talking, it's going to be impossible for him to talk because he can't hear anything. But when he learns sign language when he was young, he was small, he's going to have voice. Now learning sign language, parents don't believe my child is deaf. Maybe other challenges. If the parents take their child to school at the early age, he's going to learn more in sign language.
All right, and let's hear from Martin here, something to say.
So Abdi is saying the blockage about with the parents, with the deaf child, when he starts growing up, there's a problem with him. Why my child's not hearing? But all his parents use oral talk. Look at him, my child is deaf. He's not deaf. He can't believe it. Just leave it at the side at the corner, and then the child suffer a lot. In terms of taking them to school, and when he goes to school and join with other society, with deaf community, it'll be good for him. As the parents have no interest in learning sign language. Why? Because they feel sign language is not important at all for them. My son is only... Sometimes the parents have quarrel with the child. Parents have to know sign language.
So parents of deaf
have
children
to know,
also
have to know sign language.
Right, and let's hear from Simon as well.
But I wonder, parents must know must know, go to the doctor first of all and check if the child is normal. Yeah. Maybe if they get to the doctor and they'll know if my child is going to be born normally or not normal.
Right, so parents must seek medical attention before the child is born.
Before the child is born. Out. And after, maybe in future, the child will be easy for them to communicate in sign language. If the child is not born normal.
Okay, and I have some very interesting statistics here from the World Federation of the Deaf saying that 80% of the world's 70 million deaf people do not have access to either education or information, and only about 2% of them get education or information in sign language, and that's a very small percentage. So let's talk about accessibility to information. Abdi, you've been very proactive in championing for sign language interpreters on television, for national addresses, but what are some of the challenges you face in accessing healthcare, for example?
First of all, I thank Communication Authority, Communication of Kenya, for all TV. I'm sure we are enjoying community. We are enjoying now. We can watch TV and understand what's going on TV. We have sign language interpreter and every TV station in Kenya, Kenyan sign language. In Parliament also we have sign language interpreter. The problem is that MPs are ignoring us to encourage, to put it up in and it's there in the Constitution of Kenya. The problem is that the members of Parliament are ignoring us. We have to teach more people learn sign language. JP, Jubilee, like the sign of Jubilee is like this.
They say tuko pamoja, and you also want to feel
together,
included.
People don't know what does it mean. What does it mean this? You have to be serious. I asked JB government to join with us and teach them sign language. We tuko pamoja.
All right, so the government really needs to take that into consideration as well. But let's speak to Simon, for example. Talk to us about your experiences as a deaf person, especially when it comes to accessing public services in government offices. Do you find any challenges when it comes to interpretation, for example?
Challenges, interpreter, nothing, office. Many government office departments there have We have many deaf. We go to the deaf. We go to some college, we have no sign language interpreter. Different office in challenge, we have many challenges. We don't have any interpreter. We have to have many sign language interpreters and services as we go to different offices in government or public, private sectors. Very few offices that have sign language interpreters. NGO, nothing. We have nothing in the NGO like sign language interpreters. Now, Deaf Awareness Week was going to make people under awareness and know about sign language interpreters and communication.
Absolutely. And just before we finish up on the experiences, Martin, talk to us about what you would describe as your biggest challenge as a deaf person.
First of all, thank you very much. The true biggest challenge in Kenya for the youth, I myself, I have many challenges, but all of us challenges. When you see what Simon has explained about different institutions in Kenya, it shows that some of us, we see, as we go to the hospital, one deaf girl, she was pregnant. And she went to hospital. The doctor didn't know sign language to communicate with her. What happened to you? What's the problem with you? I'm pregnant. Maybe there's a problem with your stomach, with your tummy. The doctor gave him medicine. As I finished medicine, and they feel but still the pain continuing again, and then back to the hospital again. And find she slept. What happened with you? She got a birth and then she died. That's the biggest challenge. We got shocked and frustrated a lot. We get confused. That is not good. All public hospitals must have sign language interpreters, especially for women. If a woman is pregnant, how can a male doctor ask questions?
Absolutely, and Abdi also has something to add to that.
But also many deaf, I don't have ID. The problem is that communication barrier. Not only Northeastern have 40 and above have no ID in Northeastern because communication barrier. No, ask for ID. No voice. He's deaf. Go to school is hard for him. Police are going to arrest him. Sometimes police arrest deaf. You are a Shabab. They arrest him. Handcuff him. How can he communicate? All police, hospital, government, public, institution, all must learn sign language. It's a must, they learn sign language.
All right, these are very serious issues and very emotional experiences we're seeing here. And so, Maya, I'd like to speak to you about this. So access to public services, healthcare, government or just legal documents is very hard for the deaf community. What then needs to be done to help them out?
I think the awareness creation is one of the most critical things that needs to be done. By and large, people, unless you have somebody who is deaf within your network, you don't think about the fact that there is such a segment within our community who cannot hear and what are their needs. And what you find is that when then people do start getting aware, perhaps the initial level is, well, they have a roof over their head and they're eating anyway, isn't it? It's almost like you're doing them a favor by having them around. But then what people need to realize as part of the awareness is that these are individuals with the same aspirations you and I have. They want to work, they're looking for jobs, they're extremely intelligent. Are we offering them employment opportunities within our organizations, or do we imagine because they can't hear, that means they can't work, and that's not true. You know, they have reproductive issues, they have health-related issues, they have issues, they want to own land. One thing they are passionate about in terms of their own sense of aspiration is being able to drive a car.
Right.
Now, for a lot of people, you don't think about that. You know, you want to drive a car, you go to driving school. But for a deaf person, the minute they say they want to drive, everybody thinks, oh, you're just going to cause an accident on the road.
Right.
That is not the case. There is actually a way that the deaf can safely drive. You have an extra, you know, mirror within the car.
Right.
This is something that's done globally. But we need to look at the deaf community as people just like you and I, with the same aspirations and the same needs, and provide the space for them to be served. It really is very, very concerning that within hospitals, somebody can go for treatment and be completely misdiagnosed because the doctor cannot understand
Right.
what this person is suffering from,
Right.
or that they cannot access services within government offices. So at the very basic level, when we are saying that this year's theme is with Kenya Sign Language, I am equal, is that, you know, disability mainstreaming so far has been all about providing ramps so that for wheelchair access, you know, if you're on a wheelchair, you can use, but that's not the only disability. There really needs to be a deliberate effort, particularly within government-owned institutions, from a service provision point of view, to ensure there are people who have learned sign language, and it's very easy to do. It's just a question of people being aware and taking that on board. And this is really one of the main reasons that we are hosting the International Deaf Awareness Week, to try and expand, you know, the space for engagement with this particular segment of the society.
Right.
And if I may just add one thing to the question you asked earlier about the children, it has been established that by the age of 7, a child can learn 7 different languages, depending on how you teach them.
Right.
So teaching a child sign language is very easy because children will naturally pick up on the gestures that they see people, you know, performing around them, or the facial expressions. They respond to all of that. But if you as the parent don't know the language, then it becomes frustrating for you and for the child, because you are not in a position to be able to teach the child, which is a very natural function of a parent.
Right, right. And we'll get to the events that we will be expecting for this week. But yeah, we've talked about a lot of challenges that the deaf community faces. But what are some of the proud things that members of the deaf community can pride themselves on? Let's begin with Simon.
We have nothing to be proud of. Yeah. The youth, first of all, we have many youth there. Very proud.
Achievements.
Right, so
Nothing,
Martin
yeah.
says he has nothing to be proud of in the deaf community. Abdi, anything?
Abdi, anything what deaf community be proud for deaf. My sign is the. You call me this? No.
Right, Abdul, please remember to...
I'm proud I'm deaf.
He's proud he's deaf.
Yes. When it rains, I communicate in sign language. Because, yeah. I don't suffer. I continue communicating in sign language. Even if you hear, I'll communicate in sign language.
Yeah, so even if you're in a very noisy place, you can
I'll
still
communicate in sign language. If you're far, you're here, I'll communicate in sign language. My hands are my words, my mouth. My eyes, also my ears. My hands are my ears. I'm proud that I'm deaf.
Right, all right. Well, thank you so much, Abdi. And then...
Yes. Some way, what hearing I'm proud of, same also are really deaf, we are proud. Because we use our hands and we enjoy our hands, our mouth. Like we have sign language. Your sign language name is what? Yeah, his sign name is, we understand, I understand.
All right, so let's talk about one more thing, Sumaya.
Yeah, maybe just to add, I think, on some of the things that create a sense of pride within the deaf community. And for myself as patron, having interacted with them, we have a deaf acrobatic group, and seeing them perform is actually quite awesome, because you know they have all these very complicated moves, and yet they can't hear each other. So it's always leaves the audience amazed. How are they coordinating? We have a deaf football club. Yeah, and we actually play against people who have full hearing, and they perform quite well. We are very proud of that. We have deaf professors within the university actually teaching. We have deaf audiologists working at the hospital, you know, treating other patients. So across the different fields, we do have some members of the deaf community that are not only working in the field, but actually have achieved a certain level of seniority within their profession, and they are the ones leading or interacting or assisting members of the hearing community, which is actually a sense of great pride that a deaf person could be assisting somebody with full hearing. And I think these are some of the things that make us quite proud.
Right. Just to ensure, I mean, just to make people understand that the deaf are also equal in society. But then there's one thing when it comes to understanding the rights of the deaf. This is a bilingual education. Talk to us about that. What does it mean and how can it be implemented?
At the end of the day, it is really considering sign language as a language, a full language, and not only a language that is to be learned by those who are deaf. So if you consider that it is a language to be learned like any other language, this is really the beginning of making the bilingual language a success. Because then, you know, even when they are in school and they're sitting exams, while somebody is sitting, say, a Kiswahili exam, they actually sit sign language exam, because this is what then the mode of communication and what have you. But if we go to a point where sign language is considered a full language for all, then it's easy for a deaf person who by and large in school are taught in English to also learn Kiswahili or learn French or Arabic or whatever other language, because you know you have really created a solid base for them to be able to interact with many other things. But to the extent that so far it's considered that sign language is only for the deaf, then it creates challenges in spreading the bilingual objective, because it's limited to only a certain segment of the community. Yes.
Okay, and let's talk about sign language in itself. And maybe Abdul, you can tell us, how do you name people? How do you decide what the sign name is for someone?
Actually, in deaf culture, deaf are the one who give sign name.
So they give the sign name.
They give the sign name because about your appearance, what you love to do.
All right, so what would my name be? Michelle.
Sign name for Michelle. Last time I gave it to you, sign language name.
Yes, but I don't remember.
I can't remember. I forgot my sign name.
Maybe I can get a new one.
Deaf community give people sign name. Deaf Awareness Week will give you a sign name.
So I'll get a sign name this week, during the Deaf Awareness Week. Okay, all right. And then, Samaya, talk to us about the event then we're expecting, a Deaf Awareness Week. What is Kenya and MDAC planning?
We are planning a series of events that will address capacity building and awareness creation. So we will have talks about deaf culture, and that is so important, because one thing that people don't realize about the deaf culture is that it is very direct. And if you don't understand that, it's very easy for you to get offended by communication from a deaf person, because you'll think they are being rude or insulting. It's just that, remember, their entire communication is by sign language. They don't have a lot of spare words for, you know, political correctness and, you know. So you'll find the hearing will say hearing impaired. The deaf don't call it that, they call it deaf. If it's deaf, you know. If they don't like something, they will tell you straight up, I don't like this, because their language, their culture is extremely direct. So talking to people about deaf culture is one of the things that will be happening. The other thing that will be happening as well, there will be booths that will be set up within the city at Kencom, at Tomboya Street. Again, this is an opportunity to hand out information, flyers, leaflets to members of the public, have them come over, interact with members of the deaf community for them to just understand what are they looking for, what are their aspirations, where can we work together. There will also be health checks. So we are doing a free cervical cancer screening as part of this, because remember, members of the deaf community have the same concerns we have. Right. So there'll be screening not only for them, but they are putting that out as an opportunity to screen even those who are hearing as their contribution back to society. So the deaf community has organized that. We're also going to have a walk, and the walk is really, again, about awareness creation. And we are calling on people to join us in that. And the idea being that, let us embrace the diversity of who we are as a Kenyan people, and let us show that diversity and that unity by turning up to participate, to engage, to interact, to understand, to ask. And also, for those who have deaf children or deaf relatives or siblings or parents within their homes, we encourage, please bring them. Don't lock your deaf relatives in the houses. Let them come. Even if they've never been to school, it's okay. There's always a point at which one can start. If they've never learned sign language, or if the parents have never learned, we have now, as MDAC, we offer free sign language classes every Monday to Saturday at the Handlingham Mosque Social Hall. It is open to anyone. So we encourage, please come out, find out what else you can do as a deaf person, as a hearing person. Find out how you can interact with this community. How can you help? We appeal, give them an opportunity. If you have a company, employ them, help them with tenders under the whether it's the youth, women and disability ratio, or even if it's not that, but do interact with them and see how else you can help add value to their lives and how they can add value to your lives. I have learned so much interacting with them. They're extremely intelligent, but you have to be willing to learn from somebody who speaks a different language from you. That's all that it is.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up the issue of employment, because you say we have 1.2 million people?
2.4.
2.4 deaf people,
yes.
Million deaf people in the country.
In the country.
And Abdi says a majority of them over the age of 18 do not have access to IDs. So how does that reflect on employment opportunities? Abdi, let's begin with you.
True that many challenges we have. I think this deaf, it's impossible for him to get ID. He's deaf. Just let him go and take care for the cows. There's no benefit. Deaf community, now in Nairobi, you've seen me in Nairobi. I'm asking about our president to focus straight about supporting us Deaf Awareness Week. Encourage us. Give us free ID, access in ID. Deaf, number one, deaf awareness is that we have different challenges. We are peaceful people, equal opportunity. We need equal opportunity. We want a job. We want to join us. President, please come and support us and join us.
Absolutely. And Simon, let's have your personal experience.
Many deaf in Kenya. Number one is ID also. Challenges we have, an election. Time election election time is very soon. How can we deaf do that? How can we just join the politics and vote? Reason is communication barrier. Many deaf people don't know how to vote. When we want equal opportunity and join you in election and ask for ID. I will ask IEBC responsibility to serve as deaf sign language interpreter in future for deaf community and get ID, and so that we can know how to vote.
All right, so the deaf need to vote as well.
Yeah. Other disabled people have MP. We have those short people MP. Disabled have MP. Blind we have different. But deaf, question, why don't they have deaf MP? that shows more awareness. They think deaf are not equal. We are equal with you. We ask IEBC. We are equal with others, same with others.
So the deaf do not have any representation in the political scene, and that's interesting. Martin,
nothing. We don't have.
Let's speak to Martin as well. What's your experience, especially when it comes to employment? Have you tried looking for a job, and how did that go for you?
Job. Have you tried to find a job? Thank you very much. I personally, hustler. Yeah. I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler?
Yeah. I find work many years until now. 2 years I haven't got to work.
And what is the problem? What is the difficulty? Why can't you get a job?
Challenge is what? I have no idea. Decision. I have employment, nothing. I have no idea why.
You don't know?
I bring my papers. What? Okay, wait. We'll inform you. We'll come. Wait till they keep my CV aside, and we'll inform you. We'll call you later.
On the brighter side, it happens to a majority of people, whether deaf or hearing. Unfortunately, that's how it happens. But definitely an issue of concern.
My reason is that I'm the only deaf. All of them are hearing. I'm the only deaf. Why me? I'm deaf. It's a problem that, number one, deaf is that when they come to the office, you come with the boss. Yeah. Question is that you bring your thing, you bring your CV, your papers, and you show. And personally, when I went to KICC, I went to the office. I went to Senator Sonko. I went with the security. With the interpreter, I have an interpreter. Yeah. I don't interpreter, not use your voice. Let me talk to the security. This is Boo Boo. He can't talk. Yeah. He's a serious person. Went to Sonko for what? What do you want to say? What do you want to do with Senator? Later, I came with the interpreter. Okay, talk to my interpreter. Then you interpret what I'm saying. Because the security must know sign language also. Second, in Kenya, it's impossible for them to appoint deaf person. It's the biggest challenge we have.
Well, there are challenges, absolutely. Now, Sumaya, so when it comes to employment, definitely a big challenge there. So how then do they sustain themselves? 2.4 million people.
It's very difficult. A lot of them are dependent on family and friends to run, just for their day-to-day living. And remember, these are people who also want to start their own families. They want to get married and settle down. They don't have a means of livelihood. Some of them do have, but that is really the smaller percentage. And it's really all about attitude, because even for those who do have papers, when they apply for a job and somebody realizes this person is deaf, that's an extra hurdle for them to jump, in addition to the fact that perhaps the jobs may be scarce, but they have that extra hurdle to jump. And then because they haven't had the opportunity elsewhere, the CV will also work against them because they have nothing to show by way of experience. So you're not giving them an opportunity and not helping them to use that maybe as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. So some of the things that we have done, we have conducted with companies like Crown, for instance, painting training for the deaf. So they've trained them on different types of painting application. They have their certificates. And what we then appeal is when people have construction projects, do bring the deaf on board as part of your workers, because they are trained just like the other people are trained, the same level of quality, and they can give you the quality that you're looking for. We've also had somebody else coming to train them, Mrs. Suleiman, an entrepreneur on soap making, for instance, so that they can now package their own detergents and sell. We have other people, Abdul Sidi Rally Academy is actually now training them on rally driving as part of building their confidence and their marshalling skills. So we appeal to different organizations, come forth and help train them. When they're able to get that level of training, then they become much more employable because they have the competency from a skill training point of view, and you can then help build the experience by giving them an opportunity to come on board. Yes.
And many times you find that the rights of the deaf are not very, they're not really concentrated on in developing countries, but developed countries are a bit better off. What are some of the things you've noticed in comparison with developed countries?
I think by and large, when we are looking at persons with disabilities in developed countries, is that the space is deliberately created to make them independent. Here, we are still very much looking at them as invalids who need to be dependent on somebody.
Right.
But when you go into the developed world, for instance, somebody who is on a wheelchair, their car will have a special lever to allow, the ledge to come down. They'll slide in or, push themselves into the car they will drive. We had the motivational speaker going around the world, the gentleman who doesn't have hands or legs.
Yes.
Yes, completely, if you can imagine somebody like that in our type of environment, he probably never see the light of day. But he is going around the world encouraging people, swimming, having his own family. So there is the focus that these are people who can be independent, and how can we help them to be independent. Abdi has talked about political representation.
Right.
Have people thought that the deaf also have a view on who should be the political leaders of this country, and they want to express it at the ballot box, but they don't have IDs. They definitely don't have passports, majority of them. In fact, when they try to apply, a lot of the thinking is, why would you want a passport? Where would you be going? You should be staying home, after all, you're deaf. And so Abdi would love to be the first deaf-nominated MP, so that he can push the deaf agenda within Parliament. But I think our attitude needs to change to consider that these are people who need to be made independent. And when we start from that point of view, we will create the facilitative environment that enables them then to become independent.
Right. And Abdi, we wish you all the best in your political endeavors. But let's talk a bit more about your personal experiences. But I understand, Abdi, you have something to add to that. Go ahead.
I want to ask politicians to join us. I think deaf in Kenya will choose the best place. How many of us, 2.4 million people who are ready for election? It's a must they choose in 2017. It's a must they choose deaf member of parliament now, because we have a big number, 2.4 million.
Is there one running?
No. Become politician now. Yes, Kenya. Him. I'm running for. I'm ready.
You're contesting for 2017.
I'm telling Uhuru, I'd come and teach you sign language because I'm ready. I'm ready to join politics now.
And represent, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, and let's speak now about your personal experiences. And let's start with Martin. What is your day-to-day life like?
Day-to-day life. Yes, your day-to-day life. I'm normal. Yeah, I'm a normal person. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah,
all right. Let's hear from Simon as well.
First, what I think my dream in life is that in future, I think I'll become maybe a politician also.
You want to become a politician as well?
Where? And Western.
A politician in Western.
In Western.
All right.
Yeah. I think it'll be well for me.
It will be well for you, absolutely. Simon, let's hear, what is your dream in
dream.
life?
What's your dream? Okay, thank you very much. My dream is to focus through and plan. And now I stop thinking about past. We think about the future now. And become MCA. Why? Because I've seen we have no representation. Parliament, MCA, no, yeah. For example, if I see now 2.4 million people, all of them are deaf, we come together in Nairobi and do election, possible deaf will get government, must join in parliament and become politician. Yeah.
Right.
That's my dream in future. If we choose me, in future we'll plan and we'll stay there. From up to down.
Up to that, all right. And Abdi wants to add something to that.
I would ask Kidero and the government, our governor, to support us in Deaf Awareness Week. We have written letter on tax removed.
To have tax removed
yeah,
for the
tax
deaf.
removed, yeah. Kidero, please support us to move forward and join us in work for Deaf Awareness Week. We work together, Deaf Awareness Week.
Now that's an issue on tax exemption. That's very interesting. Now, I have a question from one of our viewers here, and I think I'll direct this question to Somaya. Our viewer says that they've had a deaf child for years now. He's about 11 years old, but they have not learned sign language. Where would they start as parents?
If they get in touch with MDAC, if they're able to leave their contacts and Abdi and team can get in touch with them after that, they can actually guide them.
And just to remind you, MDAC is the Muslim Deaf Association of Kenya.
And they will guide them on where they can come to learn sign language. Just to say again, in Hurlingham, opposite the DOD, is where the social hall of the Kenya Arab Friendship Mosque is. We offer free sign language to everyone, Monday to Saturday.
Right.
That's one place that they can come. It's completely free for everyone, parents, children, the elderly, the young. But in the event that that is far for them, do let them get in touch with MDAC and we can guide on where else they can go for sign language training that may be closer to them.
And when they finish, do they get a certificate that you've learned sign language? Or?
You can get a certificate, but I think beyond that, really, the main achievement is your ability to now communicate.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Time is not on our side. Thank you so much all for joining us in studio today. Somaya Hassan, the patron of MDAC, Muslim Deaf Association of Kenya. We also have Simon Adem, Martin Gombe, Abdi Abdile Adi, and the sign language interpreter Abdul Ali. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the show. This is a conversation regarding the International Week for the Deaf, a week celebrating the deaf community in Kenya. And of course, just to sensitize the community that this deaf community is being segregated in society, many of them here asking for political leaders to join hands with them to ensure that they have equal representation in accessing public services as well as in the political sphere. Thank you so much for watching the Weekend Express. My name is Michelle Ngele. Good morning.